Hello and welcome to another episode of Craig Biddle Live. I'm traveling over the holidays and in Virginia now, so I'm not in my normal office. Hopefully the equipment and everything will work. So today I want to talk about New Year's resolutions and the morality of egoism and the relationship between the two. And I'll start with a question. What happens when your New Year's resolutions are supported by your moral code, and what happens when they're not? What happens when they're contradicted by your moral code? Traditionally, New Year's resolutions are all about improving your life in some way. They're about coming up with ways to improve your life in the coming year by finishing things that you had started and not finished, or picking up new things that you want to do that might improve your life, such as Krav Maga, or maybe starting a podcast, or getting going on that book you've been wanting to write for a long time. They can involve things that just have to do with physical health, such as losing weight, gaining weight, if that's what you need. Some people commit to lifting weights to put on some pounds in the coming year. A lot of times people will commit to things like doing more reading, or spending more time with their family or their friends. Working more or working less. It can be all over the place. But what all of these New Year's resolutions have in common is that they're efforts on the part of people to improve their lives, to make their lives better this year. So if you think about it that way, New Year's is an unabashedly egoistic holiday. It really is all about making your life great, which is what the morality of egoism is all about. So I want to think about what happens when you choose some goals or some resolutions for the year, and you anticipate ways to enact this, and you come up with standing orders and a plan to either get to the gym or do some writing in the morning before you go to work, or whatever the case may be. And you have a moral code that, let's start with one that contradicts it. So the morality of altruism holds that being moral consists in self-sacrificially serving others. So it does not say anything about doing things that are good for your life, and insofar as it does say anything about doing things that are good for your life, it holds them at best as suspect. The essence of moral action, according to altruism, which means otherism, alter is Latin for other, and altruism literally means otherism. It means putting others first. So the essence of altruism is that the idea is that being moral consists in serving others. So if you've got a New Year's resolution that's going to improve your life this year, not only does altruism not support that, it doesn't say, oh, this is a really good thing to do, it actually contradicts it in a sense, because if you are doing things that are good for your life, that means you're taking time away from ways that you could sacrifice and do things for other people that are not good for your life. So, for instance, if you're waking up early in the morning to write a book, or to work on a podcast, or to write a business plan, or to get to the gym, these are all things that are improving your life, while you could be going out and doing something for other people that is not good for your life, that serves others in a selfless way. Now, if you're going out and doing things that serve others in a self-interested way, if the service to others is something that actually adds to your life, let's say you're teaching yoga classes in the mornings, because that's something you've wanted to do and have an opportunity to do that, so you start, and that, you're serving other people. But this is something that you're doing because yoga is an interest of yours, and it's something that adds to your life. That's obviously not altruism. Altruism means that you self-sacrificially serve others. You do so at a net loss to yourself. So if you have New Year's resolutions that are intended to advance your life, and you embrace the moral code of altruism, you have a contradiction. You have a set of goals and some resolutions and maybe some standing orders that you're going to use. And your moral code says, at the very least, this is no big deal. And more to the point, it ultimately says, no, that's bad, because you should be selflessly serving other people, not yourself. Now compare that to egoism. Egoism is the morality that says that being moral consists in self-interestedly serving yourself while respecting the rights of others to do the same. And you have to get in while respecting the rights of others to do the same, because there's nothing long-term self-interested about stabbing people in the back or, robbing and pillaging and plundering. And we know this by all sorts of observations. You can look at all the people who try to make their lives great by doing that, and they end up either in jail or they end up being killed by somebody who retaliates, or they're just psychologically, a mess, because that's not the nature of human life. That's not what makes human life great. We're integrated beings of body and mind, matter and spirit, and the things that we need to make our lives great are based on that very nature. We need to be productive. We need to have good relationships with other people. We need to earn the self-esteem that comes from engaging in activities that bring great joy to us and that enable us to interact with other people in a civilized and harmonious way. So egoism holds that you should pursue your own values, you should not sacrifice for other people, and you should respect people's rights so that you can get along with people and have great relationships and have a wonderful life. Well, this ties in perfectly with the idea of New Year's resolutions. You come up with a new way to improve your life this year, and if you embrace the morality of egoism, it undergirds and supports that very idea. It says, in effect, yes, that's exactly what you should do. You should make your life better. Bravo. It also gives you guidance about how to do that. It says, use your brain. Think, be rational, embrace the virtue of rationality. It says be productive, create values that you can either use yourself or trade with others. Be honest, don't fake reality, because you can't get values by faking reality. Reality is the very realm of values. So if you want things from reality, you need to engage correspondingly. And so on. There's a whole series of virtues in the morality of egoism that upholds the goal of making your life great. So you've got these resolutions, or maybe just one resolution for the year, and you've got one moral code or the other. These are basically the two basic moral codes. One of them says, that's great, go make your life wonderful. And the other one says, no, that's not what you should be doing. Morally speaking, you should be selflessly serving others. So what I'm pointing out here is a relatively obvious point. I don't think there's much controversy about the fact that a New Year's resolution that is intended to improve your life corresponds to egoism and it contradicts altruism. But it's worth pointing this out, because the fact is that Americans and people across the world in general celebrate this holiday, and they do it in exactly the way that they should for the most part. I mean, granted, some people might choose a New Year's resolution that is not good for their life. Some people might say, I've been doing too much for myself lately, and I need to do some selfless things that are bad for me and that are self-sacrificial service to others. Somebody could do that, but that's not the spirit of the holiday, and that's not what most people do. Most people do embrace some new thing that they want to engage in this year to make their own lives better. And so it really is an egoist holiday, and we can see that. The thing that I want to add to this is that not only is egoism good for your life, as we can see in this kind of a comparison, but it's also true. And it's true for the same reason that it's good for your life. And this is the ultimate integration that I'm aiming to sort of anchor tonight. What makes a moral code true? What is it about the ideas in a moral code that anchors them to reality and makes them true by having them anchored in reality and having them correspond to reality? Well, the question, why do we need a moral code, is where you can turn to figure this out. Because either we need a moral code or we don't. And if we don't need it, we can just throw the idea away and go on about our business, and we don't need a moral code. But if we do need a moral code, then the reason why we need it is going to speak to what constitutes a legitimate moral code, a valid moral code. And when you start to ask the question, why do we need morality, or why do we need a code of values, as Ayn Rand put it, and you pursue the answers to that question, what you discover is that we need values, and ultimately a code of values, because values are the things that serve our lives. Morality is all about values. It's about what is a value, what is the good, and how should we act. Well, the only reason we need values, or to know what is good, or to take action at all, is to live. If we don't want to live, we don't have to do any of that. We can just sit back or lay down and we'll die. But the whole purpose, the whole point of human action is to sustain and further human life. It's to ultimately to flourish, to make your life wonderful. There's no other reason that we need principles of good and bad, right and wrong. There's no other reason that we need to think about what should I do and what shouldn't I do. So altruism is built on just a fallacy that there's some must out there, some set of things that you just must do that have nothing to do with what's good for your life. And there's no evidence to support that. Whereas there's a mountain of evidence to support the idea that if you want to live a wonderful life, if you want to flourish, then you must take certain actions that correspond to the facts of reality and that support your life given the kind of being that you are. A rational being whose values are both material and spiritual, and a being who has to think about values for the span of his entire life. We don't live for a moment or a day. We're not gnats and we're not flies. We're human beings. So we have there's like 80 or 90 year lifespan. And morality is a code of principles, a code of values to tell us how to live during that time, what kinds of actions to take. And the only reason we need that is in order to live wonderful lives. So egoism is both good for you and true, and it's good and true for the very same reason, which is that it's anchored in the facts of reality and the requirements of human life and happiness, which is the only place we could actually turn to determine what's true about anything. We always, in all other sciences, we turn to reality to find out what's true. We don't close our eyes and say, is there some must that I can pull out of the ether that, I just have to do today? Or that's not scientific. Science means opening your eyes and looking at reality and say, what is this thing? And how does it have to act in the case of morality? How does it have to act in order to live? Or in the case of a fish, where does it have to live? And what does it have to do in order to survive? So a valid moral code is precisely a moral code that's anchored in the requirements of human life and the goal of human happiness. And egoism is the only morality that is so. Thus, it's the only morality that's true. And it happens to be that because it's true, it supports our life and can help us to live beautiful lives. So on this egoist day, egoist holiday, New Year's, choose some goals for the year and make some resolutions that will make your life wonderful, and embrace the fact that this is a moral matter. Making your life great is not just something that you might want to do, you might not want to do. It's precisely what you should do. It's the right thing to do. It doesn't mean that there's some must that lies outside of your self-interest. It means that the only reason that we need moral principles at all is to make your life great, or make our lives great. So you have not only the opportunity to come up with some ways to improve your life this year, but you have a moral code now, if you understand egoism, that can help you understand that doing that is precisely what you should do. It's precisely the morally correct thing to do. If you don't know much about egoism, you might make one of your New Year's resolutions to learn more about it, because it really is a moral code that is designed to make your life great and that supports it in myriad ways. So while you're thinking about things to do this year that could make your life great, pick up a book, perhaps Ayn Rand's The Virtue of Selfishness, or my book, Loving Life, The Morality of Self-Interest and the Facts that Support It, or run some searches on the internet for the morality of egoism or Ayn Rand's ethics, or a short article I wrote called Secular Objective Morality, look and see. But whatever you read, read something on this subject if you don't know much about it, and it will help you. It will support the New Year's resolutions that you make for this year, and it'll give you a broad understanding of why you should live egoistically, not only on New Year's and not only in the weeks following New Year's, but every day of your life. So here's to a wonderful New Year's and a fabulous 2018. I hope you have the best year yet ahead of you, and we'll see you again next week at the next... I probably will not be filming next week because I'm going to be traveling next Wednesday, so it might be 2 weeks if I can't find a place to pull over and do it from the road somewhere. So it could be 2 weeks. So if I don't see you till then, here's to the beginning of a fabulous 2018. Love your life.